May 5th, 2017 for real estate, and May 15th tonight for personnel reasons. The first order of business is to approve the minutes of the May 1st meeting.
I move that the board approve the minutes of May 1st, 2017 as submitted.
I will have to second, I was not here that day.
I'll second it. Any questions from the audience on it? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
David, you're going to pass?
I'll vote aye.
Okay, thank you. Next is the bills list. Boy, we're just marching right through.
Audit
No,
presentation.
I
I'm sorry,
apologize,
John.
I apologize, I missed one. The 2016 audit report presentation. Who do we have
Okay.
to do that?
I am entering here and wanted just to check to see if our auditor, his name is Steve Kudflakis, is here. He might be coming in a few minutes late, that's why I didn't see him in the audience. Okay, if he may be a few minutes late here, appears as such, so if we want to move on, we'll go back to that.
I'm going to go back.
Okay, thank you.
So I was right.
You were initially, thank you. Sorry about that.
Bills list we're approving, or looking to approve tonight, a township bills list in the amount of $78,632 and no cents. The reimbursable bills list in the amount of $75,091.39. And the subdivision utility plant bills list in the amount of $20,401.49. Three bills lists combined total $174,124.88.
I make the motion that the board approve the bills list dated May 15, 2017, in total amount of $124,124.88.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Is Brian Curry here?
I'm here, John.
Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wow, that was the first. Okay. Next is the information on the spotted lantern law.
All right. Yes, the township received information through the Department of Agriculture about this spotted lantern moth. It is causing some issues regarding it being invasive with our vegetation and causing some problems in our area. So there's information on our website. We have some we may distribute. It's a FYI for the township. So.
It's a very pretty little moth.
Yes. Thank you.
Next is the household hazardous waste at O&J Roberts Middle School, May 20th. Is that just an announcement, or did you want to talk about that earlier?
Oh, just an announcement. It will be, as stated here, Saturday, May 20th, 9 a.m., and it'll close at 3 p.m., and it will be at the middle school campus, O&J Roberts Middle School campus.
And that's for paint and all those hazardous waste that we never throw away?
Right.
Okay. Any questions for Erica on that? We're just moving right along. Next is the community day change from May 20th. That was a gutsy move there, Tammy.
Yes, I know. I think it was a good one, though, so, yeah. Yeah, so Saturday, we'll be having our community day, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Same activities. We'll see what the weather holds. Perfect. So, yeah. And that's that.
The next thing is the subdivision land development category. Toll Brothers Eagle Farms escrow release for the sanitary sewer.
I move that the board approve the escrow reduction request for Toll Brothers for sanitary sewer improvements number 4 in the total amount of $57,698.34 as recommended by the township engineer in his letter dated May 15.
Brian, this is is there a second, David?
Second.
Brian, this is a joint one between Upper Euclid and us,
Yes,
and everything looks good?
yes. This is their final escrow reduction for this portion of sanitary sewer.
Okay, any questions on this escrow list? Brian?
Does that mean there's still other further payments that are going to be, or reductions made in the future?
No.
You said it was the last, right?
Not on this phase of,
That's good.
This is the escrow release for Phase 2A for their sanitary sewer, which is the portion that's currently going through final inspections and punch lists for dedication for Eagle Farms Road.
So basically, at this point, this says they're done and we release the money to them.
Yes, this is their contingency and their 2% inflation, 5% contingency. There's nothing left in the escrow to release except for the contingency monies.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Upper Newcomb released it, yes.
And there's no open issues that we would want to have any leverage for.
The sanitary sewer is inspected and approved by Upper Newcomb. Since this is only for sanitary sewer, it's not for anything else to do with the development. This is strictly for the sanitary
Then
sewer system.
why are we even involved?
Because the way the bond was posted and the escrow and the land development agreement was written, West Vincent's holding it, but Upper Euclid's inspecting and maintaining and owning this and managing the
Which
system.
does mean if there were an outstanding issue, then we still do have leverage. It's just that we have, you don't think that you think we're just so thrilled with everything Toll's done so far that there's no reason to give up leverage.
This is strictly for sanitary sewer. We're still holding escrow for all the rest of it.
Okay,
It's still going on.
thank you.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, ready to vote? All those in favor? Aye. Next is the NLT Brewing Co. final decision for subdivisions 2, 3, and 4.
I move that the board pass resolution 13-2017 as submitted tonight, approving the Wood Co-Ed subdivision plan number 2 for the National Lands Trust for a subdivision of tax parcels 25-8-18 and 25-8-175 and lot line change.
Second.
Brian, you have anything to add?
No,
All your questions were answered?
not yet.
The
One of the
motion,
conditions of approval is to address my letter.
say that again, please?
One of your conditions of approval is to address the comments contained in
Okay.
my, on April 15th letter.
Would Brewing Co. like to say anything while you're here?
Nope.
Can we keep you on pins and needles? Sarah?
So we have not received the plans that Nick was going to make all the changes on and put out the annotations on. Okay, I thought you had said at the planning commission that they would get turned around pretty quickly. So when do we expect to get those plans that, or the final documents that would show that you're complying with Brian Kulikowski's comments?
Well, we can discuss that with NLT. One thing we're waiting on to finalize all those comments is the sewer testing, which is still ongoing. So until all that stuff is done, we won't be able to incorporate that all into the plans and have that for a final submission.
Joe, have you had a chance to review this?
Yeah, we drafted the resolutions, all three of them, and we've had an opportunity to share that with the applicant's attorney. She had made a suggestion that we had agreed with, and I believe they're in the final form, and all the parties agreed with what's in the resolution.
So your recommendation would be that we approve this?
Yes.
tonight? David, Mike, any comments? Any other comments from the audience? Sarah?
So are there any other caveats besides Brian's letter? Any other conditions on the approval that the neighbors might want to know about?
No, we're gonna give them comp, they can do whatever the heck they want, Sarah. I'm joking. Joe, you wanna answer her question?
There's all sorts of conditions that you would normally see associated with any subdivision. For all the review letters, they have to pay all the township fees, they have to get all the necessary approvals and reviews for outside permitting.
Are they going to, for
And
example, do
easements
any,
have to be reviewed, but it's all the stuff that you would see in any other subdivision.
are they like agreeing to do any necessary demolition or anything?
Not as
like-
part of the subdivision.
Oh, it could be a part of that. Okay,
Yeah,
Just-
it's not part of this subdivision. And Mr. Chair, I have 3 hot off the press resolutions that were changed as late as today in response to the applicant's attorney. So I have the latest draft for
Not what we have here.
There's a slight change to a parcel number compared to the other.
Well, how am I gonna enter this in?
Wait a minute. Parcel number, you know what it is? Where's the parcel number?
Subdivision 2 should be this parcels.
I have
That's the one I
number,
wrote.
I have
That's
number
what
two
you had that
on
in
the
the
grid,
motion, so
number
that's good.
two.
Okay, that's fine.
The number I wrote at the top right-hand corner is helpful.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
Just 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, they were just
that's
little.
fine.
I don't understand what you're trying to say. You want me to refer to these, or refer to these in the motion?
That's what you're passing.
We're passing these, not these.
Those are the record.
They're basically the same, except for those are minor.
They're the same, except some very minor changes that the applicant's attorney pointed out that we agree with, like change of a parcel number, things of that nature. So what you're voting on will be the final resolution.
The final resolutions that are in my hand, marked 2, 3, and 4.
Yes,
Did that do it?
that was it.
Okay. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We go, Wendy.
You want to hand those down to?
Thank you, Alex.
It's just fine.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. All right. So did we just adopt all three
Yes, we
resolutions
did.
at one time?
I don't think.
We have another
I don't
council meeting
think
to go to.
all three were in the
Thank you.
motion.
No, they weren't.
Good luck with that one.
Johnson.
Yeah, thanks.
These 2, 3, and 4.
I got it. Hey Denise, nice shoes.
Next on the agenda is the Hank and Weatherstone escrow release request and recommendation for release from Cedarville Engineering.
I make a motion that the escrow be released to the Hankin Group for phase 1 commercial area in the total amount of $58,300.60 as recommended by the Township engineer in this May 15th letter.
Second.
Brian, want to explain this one to us? I just like seeing you get up and get some exercise.
In the initial land development,
One correction. It should be $58,303.60 according to the letter from Cedarville.
Well, the bank has a couple dollars more in it, according to the back of your very last page.
Oh, very last.
So it's actual money, and that's how it,
Right, well, I read the motion at 300 instead of 303. The total amount is 303.
got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So go ahead, Brian.
initially, back when the commercial development for the commercial area was approved and the land development agreement was signed, there was a $56,000 cash escrow established by Hankin for engineering oversight, basically review and inspection of the work for the commercial area that now is going to be revised. Since the area is being revised, they requested that we release that 50, and the agreement that was going to be built for that commercial area, they requested to release the $56,000 plus interest, since it's a cash account, back. And a new agreement will be established with the next phase when it comes through for the plan. So this escrow was for engineering services that were never provided, because the project was never built. That's where this escrow was for.
Sarah, you have a question?
Well, when you said, when it was read as phase one commercial area, I wondered if that was the part where the library was, that was already built. So was there some, we're sure this is for where they've been putting in fill dirt for quite a long
Yes.
while. And although we believe that they have covered over a wetland, we're going to release what could have been something that might have been useful to ask them to remediate the wetlands.
This was an escrow associated with construction activities that will not be performed.
So in 10 years, they spent a lot of time moving equipment on that field, what is now known as commercial area, phase one apparently.
Okay.
And so they've done a lot of stuff there. Are we satisfied that they haven't done anything that we didn't want done? Are we releasing this in innocence when there are people on the EAC who think there was a wetland, headwaters moist, that's been filled in with dirt. So so we're just saying, okay, they're not gonna,
They're not gonna do the phase one as was approved back in 2007. They've come to the board and have a resolution from last year to change their commercial plan. So this agreement that was done for the first commercial phase is now gonna be superseded by a new agreement. So because this agreement will not be fulfilled, the township is obligated to refund the money being held for construction, inspection, and observation. That's not going to be done. That's what this is for the
and we
construction.
didn't do any inspection in
They
the
paid,
reading
they
10
paid,
years.
they paid all their bills that were submitted for the inspection back when it was done back previously. So this escrow was being held if they did not pay their bills.
Okay,
That's what this is for.
okay, thank you very much. Do we know when we'll get the next plan from them?
No.
I don't think they're gonna wait long though. Don't ask me why I say that. I think they're looking to move fast. That's just a gut feeling. Anyway, thank you, Brian. Any other questions? Seeing none, ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, moving on to old business. Last meeting, we talked at length about the electric supplier contract, and we're gonna look into something for us.
Okay. We have those updated market rate costs for the electricity for the township facilities. And we had received a question regarding on-demand or demand service charges. And through PICO establishing the utility, there is a constraint on the facilities that actually distribute everything, all the electricity. And so that is in a charge regardless of our carrier. And that would be the peak charge. So, as far as the purchaser of the electricity, we have those costs here, but regardless of who we go with, we are going to have to face, mostly with our sewer plants, usage that goes up because of peak activity or event. So we will have to deal with that. But that doesn't really change, and I asked today, as far as that tariff, is that gonna change, within the next year, and it's fixed right now. So, but what we have today, we're looking at our purchase of the electricity, Constellation continues to be the lowest for the kilowatt hour. So we have the various terms here, and we have that available for you, so we did check into that, and thanks for bringing that up at the previous meeting.
Question for you. So the demand charge, that's not
Yes.
based on usage, that's not a rate per kilowatt?
No, it's not.
It's just a fixed number?
There's a tariff charge, and then it's on a meter. So if we have, let's say, a pump at Weatherstone, and there's a very high usage at one point, which puts a strain on the infrastructure, is what I've been referred to now with that. And when that happens, the meter calculates it, and they do a formula against what that tariff is, and that's what you have to pay.
Peter, did you want to comment?
Yeah, the demand charges are indeed basically paid for the increased size of the infrastructure you need to serve the plant. Typically though, with a facility like that, you can manage the demand, by moving it around, by sequencing the pumps that you start up, and making sure that your power factor is optimized. And that will all bring the demand charges down. In my days before I started doing gas, I would go from one large PICO customer to the next with our large account service folks and figure out how to lower these demand charges. So there is
great point.
some management that you can do to lower them.
Mm-hmm. That is, a really great point, and,
I'm more
looking
than
at
happy
it,
to take a look at it.
in different pumps at our plants.
You mean some way to stagger when they fire up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
it's basically based on the highest 15 minutes for the month.
I think Brian mentioned that.
Yeah.
last meeting.
That, I mentioned that and I had an email discussion with Erica. And I agree with what Peter says completely. And we also had a discussion before the thing is that we purchased a new controller for one system, I think it was Weatherstone.
Okay.
And even then, if there are controllers on there, a lot of these things data log. So you can
Yeah.
look at the data and you can see, you know, what's starting, what you can turn off. The thought that occurred to me is that the aerators are something that instead of having both of them running, you could have one of them running when you've got these other pumps kicking in. But that just pulled out of the air without even looking at the system at all. But looking at the system, it's the intelligent thing to do, and it doesn't take a lot of time and effort.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
On this contract, Eric, is this, can this be severed without penalty?
Yes, it can.
So if we were to sell the sewer treatment plants, we don't have to worry about.
Yes, we asked that question.
Because I know the successful bidder will not want Constellation.
Okay,
They get better deals.
got it. Noted.
If you're that big.
I don't believe we have a motion on the floor yet.
Yeah, I think I read it.
I don't think so.
No, I did not. I make the motion that the board approve the 48-month pricing with Constellation with the latest price per kilowatt hour as .05477.
Second.
We've already had a discussion. I'll open it one more time. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Eric.
Sure.
Next item on the agenda was the appointment to the Open Space Review Board. We're actually going to table.
No, this is the ordinance.
Oh, excuse me. Got ahead of me. All right, to consider ordinance 177, 2017 Open Space Review Board. Jody, you want to walk us through this one?
Yes, not yet. At this time, we'll open the hearing, introduce into the record Board Exhibit 1, the ordinance, Board Exhibit 2, the legal notice, Board Exhibit 3, the proof of publication, Board Exhibit 4, the proof of submission and receipt by the Chester County Law Library. This ordinance, as we've discussed previously, simply eliminates a requirement that a board member be comprised of at least one Board of Supervisors member. And we eliminated that provision and language relevant to that provision throughout the previous ordinance. It's as simple as that. Does anyone on the board have any questions? No. Anyone in the audience have any questions?
Why?
Why? Well, Brian Curry brought to our attention, and I thank him for doing that, that this provision is not legal, so we're getting rid of it.
The reason for that, it had language in there that required that one of their members be a board supervisor, and that was the illegal part,
Yes.
so we had to rectify that.
So it's illegal as opposed to lack of interest?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Now, there was definite continuing interest, but you can't do it. With that, I'll close the hearing, reconvene into the public meeting portion of the agenda. Now this ordinance is in a position for your consideration.
I make the motion to adopt ordinance 177-2017 as presented in the evening, this evening, amending the Open Space Review Board membership requirements.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we're up to the open space, the appointment of Open Space Review Board member. We decided to table it another 2 weeks because we had a couple late resumes sent our way, and I, for one, just thought it was best, so we decided to do that, hold it for 2 more weeks. Is that enough said on that?
Yeah.
We apologize to anyone who came out.
Yes, really. Next, recommendation of a firm to do a building feasibility study.
I make a motion to authorize the firm of Kimball Library Architecture to do a feasibility study of the West Vincent Township office complex for a total amount of $14,500 as recommended by the township manager.
Second.
Erica, you want to explain what this is?
Sure. We had discussions about the township building, public works, police, in general, and looking at essentially putting a roadmap together to take into account current needs, future needs, and thought an architectural firm is the best place to start. So we put out an RFP to solicit proposals for putting together a feasibility study based on those needs, to put together some sample schematic designs on what we could do at this complex here to account for all of those things. And we received very good interest. We received 15 proposals, shortlisted them, then we had 3 interviews. And we had 3 firms, and Kimball Brograt, they did a very good job of putting together what we thought was a very reasonable price point on their plan, and in addition to that, bring a lot of value. They focus a lot on municipal work. They work with PSATs. They are very much interested in helping to identify a very strategic plan for building complexes and for township needs. They really get it. They talked a lot about just the different constraints on a municipality, trying to save money, being efficient, looking at sustainable design, how do you weigh all those things. So they were selected. We had a good group to review them.
And this is a project that's actually been on our table for the better part of 3 years, I believe.
Okay.
It's the long-range planning
Right.
to possibly go forth in 5 or 10 years, sometime in the
Right.
future.
Sure.
Because the police department, if we ever had to hire a female police officer, where would she change?
Right.
There's a lot of different things. So it's just to get ahead of the curve and make plan and see what we can do with this building and get some professional recommendations.
Correct.
We didn't get a motion on this yet, did we?
Yes, we have a motion.
Did we?
We just,
Did you say 14,500?
I did.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Harry?
Normally, I'm used to seeing bids being sealed and you guys take turns opening things and talking about them. Is that not the usual?
We
It
did.
doesn't sound like that's what was done.
She said we did that.
Yeah, we have a bid tab and all of that.
But
And
did
but
you
usually
bid
it
opening
happens.
at a meeting?
we had a public bid opening. It was not at the meeting. It was not at the meeting, but we do have, it was, publicly advertised and the whole thing.
How does that work?
Well, it can be at a public meeting like this, or, yeah.
Oh, so if Brian, did you read the public notice?
The thing here is that they're looking for professional services.
That's true.
And with
Yeah.
professional services, they don't have to go through the, bid process, that you don't have the $10,000 and the $20,000 caps that go into it. I'm listening to what they're saying, and it's a professional
That is true.
services appointment. That's within the second-class code, at least as I understand it.
That's right.
But you're saying that there was a public notice that.
Hold on.
There was, yes.
Hold on for a second. Ryan, did you say we did something right?
When you're right, John.
Thank you, Brian.
But we did go through a process so that it was public, but at the same time, it was a bit modified. Going through the RFP, we had proposals, we have criteria that are both looking at the cost value and looking at the qualifications of that firm.
So if I'd seen the public notice, it would have told me that the bid opening would be in the office, not in the supervisor's meeting.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is a recommendation, bid award for paving of Horseshoe Trail and Namdale Road.
I make a motion to approve the bid award to Innovative Construction Services, Inc. for the paving of Horseshoe Trail and Nant Mill Road in the total amount of $342,442.45, as recommended by the township engineer in his letter dated May 15th.
Second.
Ryan, do you have any comments on this?
You have a question?
Erica, do you?
Well, just to comment, in looking at our road budget, we have our estimates, and there's no doubt about it, Horseshoe Trail took a beating this past year, even more so. It was in our planned project for paving, but with the closure at 401 and St. Matthews Road, traffic was diverted, and certain issues were exacerbated by that. So when we were looking at estimating on the contract, it was much higher than this result. So I have to say I'm pleased with how competitive they were. Given that, I know there's some modifications that Brian, your office did to try and make it competitive as well. So just wanted to comment on that, that this is within budget.
As with a lot of our roads that are narrow, there's crumbling on the edges, on the sides, actually, 6-8 inches into the road. And this portion of the road has that. Is that part of the specs, or is that normally?
Good question.
He's getting his exercise tonight.
The proposal and the bid award is for cold in place recycling, which is where they grind the road about approximately 6 inches deep, mix it with an emulsifier, which is similar to asphalt, and relay it, and compact it in place, and then it'll be paved on top of the wearing course.
Which they fix the size.
Yes, and where we can, we're going to try to widen the road, so it's a nominal 20 feet wide the entire way.
Our road crew's going to do that.
The road crew is going to do the base work for that, so when these guys come through for their recycling it and paving, they can pave it. Another reason we chose cold in place recycling is it is a much quicker process than full road reconstruction, and we save approximately, would you say, $80,000? Less than what we estimated for full road repair, for full depth pavement and base repair. About $80,000 less than we estimated.
Is
there a downside to it? Is it as good?
The road is closed while it's being worked on, so it'll be closed for periods of time.
No. The method that you're using, is there any downside to using that method versus the regular reconstruction?
No, not for this application, there's not.
Brian, do you mind just going through what the time frame is for completion?
The completion?
What we'll be looking
Well,
at?
the bid award is awarded for a paving window of, I believe it's 90 days. They have a window they can work in. They need to notify the township 14 days ahead of time when they propose to pave. So our understanding that the cold in place will be taking place in 2 days. So the road will be closed one day, one pass, and it'll be closed one day for another pass. But part of the specifications is that access will be maintained to all residents and all roads at all times. So you will be able to get around it. There's only certain times they'll have to close when they go across, for example, Davis Lane. That intersection will be closed for a short period of time when they reclaim it and lay it down. But with cold in place recycling, within an hour, you can be driving on it. It sets up that quick.
So any of the homeowners along that will be phone
Notified.
called and notified directly,
Yes.
and the rest of us will be on the internet or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, we discussed the communications plan.
Yeah, the contractor's required to go door to door.
Is there any weather-related concerns? It just has to be done with temperatures certain night?
Well, the temperatures are controlled by PennDOT, so that's why the paving window just opened at the end of April, and will close pretty much the end of October. Our window for working on this project is end of school to beginning of school for OJR, and West Nantmeal Road also has a provision in the bid documents that they cannot work around the time period of the horse show of the grounds.
Yes.
I just have a question because the French Creek Iron Tour is coming down there June 11th. Do you envision this starting before then?
They're awarding the bid tonight. We have to process all the paperwork and have it approved by PennDOT, so.
Well, I mean, it'd be great if it was done considering, okay, so it won't happen this year. right?
It won't happen before June 15th this year.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Is this,
Yes. I'm sorry, Harry.
is this the entire length of Horseshoe Trail in the township?
No.
What is this, what part of it are you doing?
This is Davis Lane to
St. Matthews.
St.
A
Matthews.
year and a half ago, I think we paved the other portion of Horseshoe Trail to Davis Lane.
Yes.
Just wanted to know what.
Yes, Davis Lane to St. Matthews.
Unclear if you're doing just the sides or the whole thing.
We're doing the entire width of the road. Because there was so much base repair required after the beating it's taken in the last year that it became cost prohibitive to just do normal base repair. You'd be digging up too much of the road. Be full reclamation at that point.
Brian?
The prior section that was repaved, the Davis Lane to Birch Run, that was proposed to be done by cold-in-place recycling. And then I forget whether it was due to cost or something else, but they went back to conventional. So that, using cold-in-place recycling of the road in place is not, I don't think it's really that, unusual. It's been proposed before as a township. It didn't happen for some other reason. It sounds like a good idea to me.
There's two different styles of recycling. One is reclamation, where they put actually cement, Portland cement into the mix, and then it takes a lot longer to cure. This version, and it's not permitted by liquid fuels, by PennDOT will not pay for that. This version, because it uses liquefied asphalt, is permitted by liquid fuels. It's a PennDOT spec we're using. So it's approved by PennDOT, so that's why our liquid fuels funds can pay for this version of what we're doing.
Okay, so this comes out of the liquid fuels?
Yes.
Monies, okay.
This will be funded by liquid fuels, which is why we have to have it approved by PennDOT. But PennDOT will not approve it until you will win bid. So they know who the bidder,
And also, this came out less than you were expecting it,
about $80,000, I believe, less.
so we're plus $80,000 in liquid fuels.
Yeah, that means they were just
Well,
too high to begin with.
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
the estimate was for the standard paving,
Yes, this
right?
is $80,000 less
Not
than the
versus
standard
budget.
$80,000 less than what we had estimated for full base repair, not for your liquid fuels allocation.
$8,000 savings.
Any other questions? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Brian.
I'll stay here.
Okay, we're up to number 14 on the agenda. The bid rejection of Hollow Road culvert repair.
I make the motion to reject all bids received for the repair of Hollow Road Bridge culvert as recommended by the township engineer, letter dated May 15, 2007, and to authorize the re-advertisement of the rebidding for this project.
Second.
Explain why this is necessary, Brian.
The repair for the Hollow Road Bridge was bid at the same time as the paving project. We had 3 bidders respond, and the lowest bidder did not submit the proper paperwork with the bid. He filled out the forms on Penn bid, but did not submit the bid form, signed or filled out. So because of that, his bid had to be rejected, and his bid was $100,000 less than the next closest bidder.
Now, when did we find out that he didn't sign it?
When we open the bid. When we open the bids, that's when you find out if the forms are submitted correctly. So we investigated it, and we're currently in the process with the structural engineer of talking to the bidders to see why their bids were so different. We had 3 bids, and each bid was $100,000 more than the
Yeah,
next one.
1% more.
Could this be a cheap way of just seeing what the others are bidding?
Could be,
Maybe people have done that.
could be. There's nothing, we can't prevent that, because once it's opened on Penn bid, it's live and anybody can see it. So we're working on revising the scope documents with the structural engineer based upon feedback and his discussion with the bidders to understand why there was so much discrepancy in the bids.
So how much of a setback in weeks do you think this is going to be?
That I can't answer, maybe 2 to 4 weeks,
Still be able to get it done this year.
yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Any questions? Sarah?
And Brian.
Sarah, go first.
Okay. What sort of changes to the specs are you considering, part 1, and all of the bids give adequate protection to the Birch Run?
Yes, because it's all permitted, we have a DEP permit to do the work. So it's already been permitted and approved by DEP for the work for the Birch
So,
Run.
but you're changing the scope on this rebid, so what sort of changes?
There's some clarification, not changing the scope, but clarifying things that, for example, one of the items is removal of the asphalt on the bridge deck to seal the bridge deck, because there's water coming through the bridge deck. One contractor bid $6,000, one contractor bid $66,000 to remove the asphalt.
And what was the misunderstanding in,
That the structural engineer has discussed each of them, and him and I are going to be discussing it later this week. I didn't get a chance to talk to him today, we played phone tag today to understand what his comments were last week, because this bid opening was literally a week and a half ago. Yeah, it was Wednesday a week ago.
Okay, so it sounds like you thought your bid documents were adequate, and now so I guess I'm wondering if we need to be paying for the rewriting of the bid documents, if the bid documents weren't clear to the bidders.
I can tell you at the pre-construction meeting, we had one question: can we go see the bridge?
Yeah.
That was the only question that we had half a dozen potential bidders in the room for the pre-construction meeting, and they didn't ask any questions about the scope. They went to the site.
Did all three of them make a different analysis of what it meant to resurface the
Yes.
bridge?
Yes, and different numbers, and you guys have the bid tabulation.
But
You can see how different they are.
Another question from the audience, Brian?
So if I understand this correctly, the structural engineer is going back, talking to the bidders, and trying to figure out that bidders approach the problem different ways. And we're going to revise the specifications, so we're trying to get everybody is going to be bid on doing it the same way, basically?
Not bid on the same way, but understand why the bid, we're investigating why the bids were so disparate. There's such a discrepancy between the three bids.
Why wouldn't you want them to be done the same way?
Because of how much the discrepancy of numbers. One was 100,000, one was 200,000, one was 300,000. So
But-
we
but
Yeah, but
wanted-
when you write the specs, don't you spec it out of how it's gonna be done? And then everybody bids on doing it that way?
we spec out the final result, but needs and methods are up to them. You don't tell them,
Okay.
you don't
So
spec.
you want clarification to make sure one is better than the other or
Yes,
worse?
and
whether it's
we're
worthwhile.
recommending it be rebid because of how the bids came in, but they weren't.
But if it's rebid, then we have, again, $100,000 differences. So how do we choose? Because one process may be better than the next. And we just go below bid, right? Right.
In the end, the low bidder's process, we did not have any issues with this process. He did not submit the proper paperwork.
So we
So
can't get the
you can't accept his bid,
Right,
because
right,
we're
I
going to
understand
throw it
that.
out.
Right.
Because it's not appropriate.
But you're going for clarification of how they're doing it.
We're trying to clarify the scope so we can try to get better bids.
Okay.
Because there's such a disparaging discrepancy in the bids. For example, on the bid tab, if you look at for example, stream diversion ranged from $10,850 to $35,000 for the pump around. And we're understanding why one's 10 and one's 35. Why is one 3 times the price of the first one? Another discrepancy we had was just the structural repairs.
Yeah, it's big.
One was 32,000, the high was almost 115,000 for the same repair. So we understand why is one 115 and one other one's going to be 32?
Okay, so what do you do when you do find out? Then what? Are you then rewriting it to specify in more detail? That's what I'm not understanding. They're gonna, this guy's gonna do it one way, this guy's gonna do it a different way. And it costs $100,000 more to do it that way.
Yes, so we're working on trying to figure out, we've discussed it with the structural engineer, Tom Ziegler, has discussed it with each of the 3 bidders. Him and I did not have a chance to discuss it today of what his findings were last week, discussing it with these. So when we can talk, we can figure out how we're going to rephrase and possibly tweak the scope or tweak a detail or tweak a portion of the spec, or maybe it's even, one of the things we may be tweaking in it is the membrane, because the membrane had a big discrepancy in cost.
To make a long story short, just to cut the chase is, we're just trying to make sure we get it right the first time, not the second
No,
time.
sure, you don't want
Any other questions from you? Sarah?
It sounds like you would have had it right the first time if the low bidder had had his paperwork right the first time. You would have awarded
Possibly,
it
or
to him.
because of that, we lucked out and we caught a problem, we don't know
Right,
yet.
and so fortunately, he made a mistake, or whoever suggested, so he could see the other bids. But I believe now to reopen the bids, you probably do need to change something in the scope, because if you were reopening
So
the
we
bids
just-
because the low bidder wasn't fully qualified, the other 2 bidders could be complaining that you've just reopened it to make room for the new low guy to come back in. So, I mean, it is,
It is what it is.
Just to make it clear, the motion will reject all bids based on price. Period. And then between now and when you rebid it, do whatever you want to do to the specs or talk to whoever you want to.
so,
But
but,
it's based on price.
so Joe, if they come back in with a price anyplace in that $200,000 range, are those gonna all be rejected too?
They can. You can reject bids as many times as you want.
It may not be a good choice all the time. Sandy, did you have a comment?
Well, I'm not an engineer, but I'm just thinking if the guy can't do the paperwork right, why would I think he can do the job right? So I think you should eliminate that.
We haven't awarded the bid to anybody. We're rejecting all 3 bids.
You just keep that in mind. But that seems like a basic entree level skill requirement that you can fill out.
You're right, the top guy has a $100,000 secretary that knows how to do bids. Any other comments from the audience? Brian?
When the Buttonwood Bridge was rebuilt several years ago now, there was a big discrepancy between the number of the bidders and then one bidder who got the bid, which was substantially lower. And the township engineer at the time stated that he had talked to the bidder, he thought they could do it, et cetera. You know, we got that result, and now several years later, rather than having a 10-year rebuild, we're out there looking at doing Buttonwood Bridge again. So that, you know, what Brian is saying is he's looking into trying to find out what's wrong and redoing it. I think it's a good thing, you know, trying to find out why that discrepancy was there.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Should we,
Sewer ordinance?
Mr. Jacobs, if you would like, before we go on to new business, I
Yes.
think our auditor's here.
Okay.
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
All right,
You want to handle that?
sure. Okay.
We're going to jump off topic for a second and go back to number 1.
Yes, on our audit presentation, I believe Stephen's here. Oh, hello. Hi. Stephen, if you'd like to use the podium, we'll be looking to present the Township's 2016 audit and financial statements, so. All right. Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Thanks. Yeah, my name's Steve Pizzaflakis. I'm a partner from Barbecue and Thornton Company, and we are engaged to audit the township's financial records for the year ended December 31st, 2016. This year, the township issued a DCD report, which is issued to meet the state filing requirement. That was prepared by them and filed by April 1st, which is the due date. We actually electronically filed it for the township. Also this year, there's a summary report that's in the newspaper every year. This year, the rules changed. It was shortened. The format was shortened this year. In the past, instead of being due March 10th, it's now due April 15th. So the deadline was extended there also, and it was filed timely. We did issue an unmodified opinion on the financial statements of the township. That's a clean opinion, the highest level that you can receive. As part of our conducting our audit, we did review the township's internal controls over financial reporting for the purpose of planning our audit approach, not for the purpose of giving an opinion on the financial statements. Based on that review of internal controls, there were no glaring deficiencies that we came across. Overall, we felt that the township's controls were in place and effective. We did have a few areas where we thought they could improve, so we issued a separate management letter to management for future recommendations. The township does report, they prepare their statements on what's called the cash basis of accounting. Basically mean the revenue is recognized when received and expenditures are recognized when paid rather than when incurred. Some other entities use what's called the accrual basis accounting, where you recognize your revenue when it's earned and you recognize your expenses when they're incurred, when the obligation exists. But here the township uses the cash basis of accounting, which is consistent with the prior years. This year we did actually issue a financial statement for the board and management's use that did have the full disclosures. I think you shared that with the board. But just going through, the statements actually start, on page 3. And if you look at page 5, This is where your significant funds are for the township. This year, the general fund ended with a fund balance of $1.8 million. All right, that's up $828,000 from the previous year. The liquid fuels fund, which is the highway aid fund, it's the money from the state, ended with a fund balance of $234,000. That remained pretty much flat from the previous year, which started the year at $225,000. And then the open space fund, which is the tax money that's, tax that's levied for open space, to pay back the debt, ended with a fund balance of $1.8 million, up from 1.6 the previous year. So those funds all had increases. And then finally, the last fund that the township reports is the sewer fund, which you'll see on page 8. End of the year with a fund balance of $1.5 million, and that's up $200,000 from the previous year. Start of the year with a fund balance of $1.3 million. Okay. If there's any questions, sort of a big picture overview.
I have a couple.
Sure.
Your report states that the cash basis accounting is odd. Why is that? And should we consider going to a model code?
Well, the basis that's considered to be generally accepted in the United States is the accrual basis of accounting. So large municipalities will use that. And that's the basis where, so your revenue, you recognize your revenue when it's incurred and when it's earned. So if you have sewer charges for December, even if it comes in January, you still show the revenue in December. Whereas right now, you're picking up when it comes in cash. And expenditure is you recognize the expenditure when you incur the obligation. So if you're paying for legal bills in December, if you have legal bills in December that are paid in January, you're showing the expense in December instead of January. And then also under the accrual basis of accounting, you're recognizing all your long-term obligations on your balance sheet, your outstanding bonds, and your fixed assets. It is the preferred way to go for reporting, but you have to weigh cost versus benefit also, and you have to assess the limitations, the skills of the individuals within the township if they didn't, handle that level of record keeping.
Right. Software.
Right. Software,
Yeah.
So is that something we should consider, or?
Oh, I think that discussion has come up before. It's something to explore this year.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so I don't want to sit here in a year and say, yeah, we talked about that last year.
I understand.
Okay, so anyway.
Yeah, one thing, to go to the accrual basis of accounting, you have to put your fixed assets on the books, on the statements, and they may require an appraisal by a third party if the historical records don't exist for those assets.
Yeah.
So that's a cost you have to consider.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably the most significant challenge I can think of.
Yeah.
Is to go into the accrual basis, fixed assets.
Yeah.
My other question was, in your report, you talk about approval of invoices, which is a no-brainer.
That was, one of the recommendations, right.
One thing you haven't seen is we approved the bills list tonight, that's $150,000. And after the meeting, we're gonna get blasted with about 50 or 60 checks without invoices attached to them. And we're gonna sign them like we read each check, and I can assure you, after the first 2 or 3, you don't read them. Should a better way to be to attach the invoice to that when we sign the checks?
Yes.
Is that how other townships do it?
Yes.
I hate to make
No,
Daniel's
it's
job
fine.
harder, but that's one thing that's bothered me for a couple of years.
Well, they attach the invoices, but not when you actually physically sign the check. That's just a pile of checks you sign.
Right.
So it's not, here's a check and an invoice attached to each other as you're signing the check. There's a pile of invoices, and then there's just checks.
Which we do, we have it on the table before the meeting.
Yeah.
Or Friday.
They are available to be seen.
They're available
for
to be
sure.
seen
Yeah.
and reviewed.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not necessary, John?
No, not the way you live it out. It's not the norm. The norm would be, here's all the invoices, look at them at your leisure. Here's the checks, just sign.
There should be a disbursement register.
Well,
There's a bills list.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
double check, you pull up the bills list and look at
And
the
check
check
the
that you
check.
signed.
Yeah, and I think one of the comments too was internally, I review every invoice, obviously. I need to maybe enhance denoting that, providing some sort of memorandum or documentation so that there is something, am I
The
correct?
most common way is to just initial it.
Yeah,
Pay
yeah.
initial and date it.
The stamp.
And then that way the board knows that you did look at the invoice.
Right, just
Not be
something that
presented,
you,
no way to look at
yeah.
it.
It's documenting the checking balance a little bit more.
Right.
so.
Do we have initials from the people that are submitting the bills, like the
Yes.
police and road crew?
Yep.
Would a
Yeah.
stamp be all right if it's locked up? If she had a stamp?
If she only has,
What's that?
Right, I know what you're saying, yeah, if it's my original signature, but,
right.
yeah.
But sometimes you see stamps just laying out.
Right.
Places
Yeah,
you see
no,
them
I
laying on the counter,
understand.
so it's not right.
Mhm.
Marie, you
Yeah.
had a comment?
Yeah, Joe, I'm really curious as to what the problem would be to have the supporting documentation behind the check. I've signed thousands and thousands of checks in my whole career, and you know what, every once in a while, one doesn't feel right to you, and you just look to the back, look at the background, and a mistake has been made. Not an intentional mistake, but a mistake. So I don't know why you wouldn't have, what difference would it make to have the check attached to the background, the backup information, so that when they're signing it, there's not been a transposition of numbers, or that just really surprises me.
The invoices should be reviewed long before signing the check.
Who's doing that? Well, I realize the invoices are, but when you're signing the check, it's a whole different feel. You're actually signing a check. And you know what? I do it to this day in my own business. I look at it and I review the invoices when I put them in, if I'm the bookkeeper, and I review them when they come out, and I review them when I approve them. But when I go to sign them, I look again, and you know what? Mistakes are made, and that's where you catch it.
Thanks for your comments. We'll take it under, because it's bothered me for a while too. Sarah, you had your hand up.
I wondered if this was the first time Martin King Thornton called our accounting system odd.
I don't know if odd's the right word. I mean, there's plenty of other municipalities that report the same way you.
Yeah, because
small.
John's right,
Small-
we've talked
small
about
ones
this
do.
in a number of years, but I thought you said it was referred to as unusual.
It's not the generally accepted method of reporting.
Oh.
For,
Cash
I mean,
basis.
based on size, what do you see out there as far as our size types of townships?
Most report cash basis.
Yeah.
But you're not unusual from that situation. yeah.
Get up to the higher, bigger.
Right, so,
Yeah,
so that's where I wondered, because it's been just discussed, not just the last couple of years, but the last decade or something like that. And so I was just wondering if it's really, is it necessary to change? I remember there was some complexity in what it was going to take to make the change, and that was part of the reason it said, well, it is what we're doing. If we benchmarked with other municipalities our size, we would find that we're not outflying. So
It's definitely gonna cost more money, like the
Yeah.
appraisal for the fixed assets will be new money right there. The additional reporting you have to do for your pensions, which will require an actuarial,
Yeah.
study every so often, that's gonna cost money. Internally, the treasurer Danielle's gonna have to
Yes.
spend a lot more time tracking payables and
Yeah, it's a different,
receivables.
different process.
ballpark those initial upfront costs, not Danielle's extra time, which would mean, of course, Danielle's full-time, would mean getting her help. So what sort of,
I mean, appraisal costs you anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000, as I've seen other places. An appraisal of your fixed assets would be anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000.
oh, I think that would be, we feel like we've gotten away with something.
Yeah.
Do we
I'll
ever
do
have
an
a bill?
analysis of what it would take.
We should have a record of our assets and
Yeah,
value
sure.
of money.
Yeah,
We'll continue that discussion.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help Mike see.
Supervisors have any questions?
There's one thing I want to mention too, is with the report that is issued this year with the footnote disclosures, this is only the second year that this has been done.
Right.
Before this, the only thing that was done was the state report, DCD, which is just numbers, no disclosures. It's very simple.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning
And that's what a
that.
lot of small townships do. They only do that DCD report. So you, from that standpoint, you are issuing a better report. We'll point that out.
Right, thank you for mentioning that, yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much.
Sean.
Thanks for,
John.
sorry, John.
I guess the question. And listening to you, you've said things, and I didn't see them. I picked up a copy of this. And one of the comments I had, the presentation where you have all these columns, and you only use half of them. Shouldn't, if you eliminated all this excess stuff, wouldn't it be easier to follow?
But what you're looking at, that's the state report? That
I'm
doesn't-
looking at
Yeah.
something called the audit for December
Yeah.
31, 2000.
DC.
Is
That's
there
the
something
DCD.
else on that?
Yes, there is. That was issued.
Ju-
Yeah.
And that will
it
be
just
on the
came
website,
out.
correct?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
just, the financial statements that supplement the actual DCED audit, that was in draft. So that's being presented tonight in addition to the DCED report.
Okay, so
Yes.
there is another, but this,
There is.
is all
That-
This is a-
confusing.
That's
It
the, that's
is.
the DCD report that's due April 1st, and that's
Yeah.
the state's format, we can't change that, that's how they want it reported, and it doesn't apply, you just leave it blank.
Okay.
It's not the best snapshot of the township's finances.
And which
Yeah,
that's,
it's sort of unintelligent.
and that's what a lot of small townships do, just that report, which doesn't want to
That's
tell you
what we
anything at all.
usually
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Now the township issued a statement that looks more like a traditional financial statement, that has footnote disclosures.
Right.
There's a lot more information included, which will probably be more helpful.
And another question, there are now 2 lines for bonds. Do you know what happened there? Does that happen when we refinanced? In the past.
On the debt schedule,
What?
on the, it's called debt.
The debt statement.
Yeah. This year, the township partially refunded one of their old bond issues.
Okay.
So this year, they issued 2016 series bonds that refunded,
Yeah.
Remember, there was a series of bonds, they actually had to pay off one or two and leave others on.
Okay, but in the past, there were just 1 line, so
Right.
nobody would have known there were 1 or 2.
but now
Now
there's,
you do.
but now there's 2 bond issues that are still, have still balances.
Yeah.
2012 and 2016.
Right.
2012 was partially refunded, and as of year end, there's $1.1 million left on those issue, in that issue.
Okay, are they by any chance related to open space in the township building, or is it relevant? That's,
The 2012 was, for open space, and then for purchase of land for sewage disposal purposes and road repairs, there's a multiple project.
Correct.
4 years ago.
Combination.
Right. And the bonds that are issued this year strictly is just refunded a portion of those bonds. You get lower interest rates, so
okay.
you save money.
It wasn't worth doing all of it. It was better for us just to take certain portions and refinance instead of the whole thing. The timeline and the interest rates were not to our benefit to refinance the whole thing.
Another comment, is all the statements we get from the township, like these statements, show the principal was paid of $575,000, but if you look at the beginning and the ending, it only went down by $545,000. Do you know what that difference would be, you or the township?
Township was showing 575.
Pardon?
Township was showing 575,000. It might have been interest. Like that schedule you're looking right there would just be principal.
I can't hear you.
That statement you're looking at right there might just be the principal portion of the bonds. Most likely the.
It is the principal portion bond, that's
Right,
my reference.
we-
In here, it says principal payments,
Okay.
and then it's a different number than what's on here,
I don't know.
by $30,000.
Yeah.
In other words, it says here we paid $575,000, and here it says we paid $545,000.
Okay.
You just subtract the beginning and the
Yeah,
ending.
yeah. The numbers you're looking at that were confirmed with third parties, so, like, the internal township reports, I'm not sure, we don't look at those, as part of our audit.
I'll look at it. Yeah, we can talk about that spreadsheet and how that got reconciled.
Yeah.
One of them's wrong, and it did say in the other statement from last year that $575 was due for
Okay.
this year, and whether all those changes made a
Gotcha.
difference or not.
Okay.
And another question, when, in this audit, it sort of acknowledges, I guess there was $31,000 moved to the water and sewer fund, but I don't think it shows up in here.
Okay, there may not be a line item for the interfund transfer like there was in the 2017 budget. So that might be the difference. We budgeted for an interfund transfer, knowing that.
Okay, do you ever redo this to match the audited statement?
No, the audit is the audit, that is what we go by. And because the township's, the working document that we have to track everything monthly gets reconciled, that, when we do the budget, it should be the budget, audited figures, new budget. So we've got those audited figures, we can see and note if there are any changes. It could be an accounting issue on our end. Yeah, so, but we can definitely, get a few questions about how that reconciles to our working document.
Yes.
We can get those questions answered.
Okay.
Okay.
As well. I was gonna ask about notes, but they're coming, right?
Yeah.
In here, they talk about a trusted agency fund, liability of $245,000 or something that changed by $8,000. What is that?
It's the developer escrows.
Pardon?
Developer escrows.
Okay.
For developers, removing the township to be used for future, like engineering and legal fees. It sits in the books as an asset and liability, so it's not the township's money.
Okay, so it's the only liability shown
Yeah.
here, and with no net worth. And it changed by 8,000, it's like nothing gets paid off.
Well, just the liability matches whatever cash is on hand that the township's holding, so it depends on.
Projects.
Okay. Okay, I would comment like enterprise, if you could label it water and sewer, everybody know what it would be, but if there's some other statement,
Yeah, you'll be available tomorrow, you'll have it. Final version.
Yeah, I think it'll help.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
John, I for one want to thank you for taking that much time to go through this. And I wholeheartedly say thank you for that, because a lot we take for granted up here, and it's nice to, but please don't hesitate. If you don't get the answers you want, see her. Thank you.
And I probably would have recommended an accrual-based accounting,
Okay.
if that comes up.
Yeah.
From an outsider opinion.
We've heard that from you before, haven't we?
What?
You've been part of that discussion before, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, thank you once again.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
And we'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
Eric, you'll handle any times?
Oh, sure.
Questions? Thank you. Where are we? On new business? Under new business, number 15, authorize advertisement of revised sewer ordinance.
If I can address this?
Please.
With our management meetings with the bidders for purchasing the sewer authority, the sewer equipment, the sewer assets, they brought to our attention that you have an ordinance that says the township's responsible for grinder pumps, even if they're on private property, as part of a private sewer system, for example, for a homeowner. And that's just the opposite of what the rest of the world does. What the norm is to have the property owner be responsible for their sewer facilities up to the right-of-way line. And anything in the right-of-way would be the township's responsibility. And the three bidders for the sewer system didn't want to take on the responsibility of ordinance as written. So we're proposing that we change the ordinance so that landowners are responsible up to the right-of-way, and then township's responsible from the right-of-way. Even if we were not selling the system, this is something I'd be recommending anyway, because you really shouldn't be paying for a private property, private homeowner's interest in their own private system with taxpayers' money from the rest of the township. And the norm is to not do that. The norm is directly opposite what your ordinance currently says. So I prepared an ordinance. I apologize it's last minute, but all this was just recently brought to our attention. I prepared an ordinance just saying just that the township's own responsible from the right-of-way.
Joe, do we have any, is there any due process problem with changing the deal on people like this?
No.
No? Okay.
And we're gonna wanna advertise it on our website. I mean, if there's any true outrage or any from residents, now would be the time to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We don't wanna look like we're trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes.
Right.
So, do we have a
I
motion?
make the motion that the board authorize the advertisement of a revision to the sewer ordinance for a hearing to be considered at the June 19, 2017 meeting.
Second.
Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor? Aye.
You have to be fast around here.
What's that?
You have to be fast with your questions. Catch you when you're turning your head the wrong way.
Did you have a comment?
I just wanted to clarify that this only pertains to people that are already serviced by a sewage plant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Joe? Joe?
Well, it applies to anybody that has a grinder pump as part of the public system. A new package plant, it would apply to them too.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
John,
Brian?
Sarah triggered another question for me is, The sewage system with its split, or that we share, or whatever the proper legal term is, between us and Upper Euclid for the, I think, the Eagle Farms properties, does this apply to that system somehow?
It's going to apply to all systems in the township.
In our township.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is the new zoning hearing application for James and Melissa Owens for a variance of section 2307-.a.
You want me to review that?
I would love for you to do this.
Yeah, this is an application for an accessory structure, approximately 2,500 square feet, accessory to a house, and it encroaches into the riparian buffer area. Riparian buffer is 150 feet, and they will want to place this structure 88 feet. So they need a variance from the riparian buffer requirements in order to do that. This is a zoning hearing board application, so your options are to support, deny, or do nothing, just let the zoning hearing board decide it without your input. I don't necessarily see any reason why we would be active with this one.
David?
No.
Mike? No. Well, let me offer that up for discussion to the group. Sarah?
Does this also require a variance for the size of the accessory structure?
I don't know. Is the attorney here from the applicant?
Yes, hi.
Do you need a variance for size also?
Does not, no. I've been over the application in detail with Mr. Wargo, and we are requesting the only relief that is required for this. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the public or the board has regarding this application.
Brian?
This sounds kind of similar then to the one where Zoe Perkins came forward to add a garage, and that was in the riparian buffer. Am I correct on that?
I don't know Zoe Perkins.
It came up earlier in February.
But there was a variance request for a setback against the creek, yes.
Okay.
Marianne?
Did you see the address of this?
2388
Did I do what?
Chester Springs Road.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what it was.
Tara?
That lost my train of thought. So, will a copy of this application be provided to the Planning Commission this week and to the EAC, since it's a riparian issue, to see if they want to weigh in on it?
The answer is yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
Could I also ask how large is the parcel?
The parcel is approximately 5.4 acres, but it's bisected by a stream, and then the entire northern portion is wetlands. So we've had wetland studies, we had a stream study, and a survey done, and really the only place where we could put an accessory structure on this property is in the southeast corner of the property, where we are putting it as far away from the stream as possible. And as a point of clarification, actually the existing dwelling is closer to the stream than this is proposed to be, so it's really not going to have any measurable impact.
The Planning Commission meets Thursday this week.
Okay, let's move on. Any other questions? And we do not need to take any action, we can just move on, Joe?
That's right.
Next is the sewer evaluation for Cedarville Engineering proposal. It's getting a workout
Put that again.
What's this all about, Brian?
There are two proposals in front of you tonight. Which one do you have first?
We have the Weatherstone.
The Weatherstone.
Storage, urine treatment, disposal parcel.
Okay. You have the surveying services. Joe, can you correct me if I misstep here on this? So what the first proposal you have in front of you is a proposal for professional engineering services to survey the open space portion that surrounds the sanitary sewer parcel at St. Stephen's Green to prepare the legal descriptions and the easement required for access through that open space parcel to the current treatment plant at St. Stephen's Green. That's task number one of that proposal.
We don't have that already?
The open space?
Yeah, why won't we have the, won't the deed show that?
Joe, this,
So you're selling,
Yeah.
you're not selling that whole parcel, you're just selling the
Yes.
facilities on the parcel.
Okay.
yes, this is the quiet title.
Okay.
The quiet title action, this one's for.
You mean we're potentially selling?
Yeah, right.
The second phase of this proposal, phase two, is for the large parcel along Fellowship and the 401 where the main storage lagoon for Weatherstone is. The approximate 76-acre parcel. It's a proposal to survey the parcel, identify and locate where the lagoon is on the parcel and where the pump station is on the parcel, and also some feed lines for disposal, and also the main feed line from 14-inch line that comes down from the other lagoon. So we can provide easements around just the portions of the sanitary sewer facilities. So you're not proposing to convey all 76 acres, just convey an easement over those pieces.
But won't we already have that documented?
Let me correct what you said previously. The previous one was for a quiet title action, because the property's held in the name of a trust. So that's why we need what he said in the first proposal.
Okay.
Yes.
This second proposal is what I thought he was talking about, and this one is a parcel that we're not selling in total, but we have sewer facilities
Yes.
on your parcel. So we need to carve out an easement so that easement can be conveyed.
Okay.
You're not looking to sell all 76 acres.
But that's not documented on any plans, the
No.
actual location of each piece?
There's no,
Okay.
no.
Thanks, Mike. I mean, that's sort of unbelievable that it was installed and there's no record of where it was
Yeah, you think
installed.
the plans
and
would show it,
lines and-
Well, you have the general vicinity of where it's installed.
but it's never been mapped.
But in order to convey that interest, you need to have a legal description and an easement to sell. So you need more accurate data to convey it.
But wouldn't that be covered in the second proposal, the GIS mapping?
No, I'll explain that one.
Okay.
The GIS is a different proposal.
All right.
So that is that's the phase, scope item number 2 of this proposal. And scope item number 3 is for the portion, the 72-acre portion of Weatherstone, which is on Westover Lane, that contains the community garden, the primary treatment, the primary disposal, and also an additional lagoon for storage. That piece will be surveyed, and then the northern portion, which contains all the sanitary sewer, will be eased off as one piece, and the southern portion, which contains the garden and all the environmentally sensitive features, would not be conveyed. So those what those three portions are. Those are what those three portions of that proposal are.
Okay.
And that will prepare all the legal descriptions and all the easement documentation and plans of all the easements as well for recording.
And the cost is?
$21,135. That's the first proposal. The second proposal.
Can we get a 2-for-1 deal here or something?
Okay, good. So that was the first proposal, but it had 3 parts.
3 parts.
Okay.
3 parts, which is surveying both pieces of Weatherstone and also surveying the open space area, which is currently not owned by the township, but in process of doing a title.
The St. Stephen's Green.
St. Stephen's Green, yes.
Okay.
So there's three portions of that proposal.
Okay, with the Weatherstone B and C, I'm very surprised that there's not documentation of that, because especially in B, the conservation lot was cut out of it, and, it seems to me.
But in B, which is the piece you're talking about, where the main treatment is, based upon the design, and we have not found an issue with it yet, we have not found record of it, part of the sewer treatment is in that parcel. So we have to survey it and ease it around it in that parcel.
Oh, in that out parcel.
Yes.
How do you do that with the owners? Is that included in the 21,000?
Yes.
So there's legal fees included as well, Joe?
No.
No.
No, that's just for survey and to establish where it is and establish the property lines.
And then, so later we have to negotiate an easement. Do we have a willing owner?
There may be something in the title of that property already before, that was not documented in a plan as an easement. We need to document an easement line and describe it, because that is the rights of what these
And
potential
is this
buyers
going to
are buying.
happen at all of the sewage plants?
No.
So Matthews Meadow and,
Matthews Meadows, this parcel is wholly owned, right here.
okay, and so down at Stonecroft
The parcel is wholly owned.
and wherever else the other one.
Ludwig's is wholly owned as well. These are the only two parcels that have sewer facilities that are not contained either within a dedicated easement that's currently already done, or in a wholly owned parcel. These two properties,
Wholly owned by the
by the
sewage
township.
plant.
By
By the township.
Well, but open space B and C are owned by the township.
Yeah, but then if you sell it, you're selling all 76 acres, and the people don't, the potential buyers don't want to buy all the open space.
I didn't
And
know
we don't
we
want
were,
to sell it.
I didn't know we were selling land. I thought we were selling facilities.
Well, you're selling the facility and the land it's sitting on.
Well, the farm over there in open space C wouldn't be part of the facility, so that's why you just need to draw a line better. But then it's gonna be their land.
It's going to,
It's not gonna be eased land, it's gonna be selling the land. That seems a conflict. What are you doing?
There's certain instances where we're creating easements and conveying it, and other instances where we're selling the land, depending on what sewer facilities or on what parcels.
So these two.
But any
St.
land that
Stephen's
we
Green-
sell, and what you should know is any land that we sell that's part of the sewer system, we'll have a covenant on it, saying it must be used for sanitary sewer or as open space. So I'm gonna covenant every piece of property before we
And
convey
should
it.
that fail, ownership reverts to the township?
No, because we can't do that with the PUC. It would simply mean it's open space. It would never be developed.
Maintained by,
It doesn't have to be maintained, it's just gonna be open space.
okay. All right, so the land for everything except Weatherstone and St. Stephen's Green, you're gonna be selling the land. And those two, you're gonna be doing easements.
St. Stephen's Green, the sewer treatment plant is on a parcel that is owned. The access to that parcel is through the open space. So we have to
Through
have
the West Vincent Land Trust open space.
Yes. So we have to get an easement through that open space to get to the parcel. Because currently the easement, the access is not on the parcel that is owned by the township for the treatment plant. So that has to be.
And this work being done should have been done a while ago. Whether we sell or don't sell, this work should still be done.
So if the township's gonna take over the St. Stephen's Green parcel, could that save us any money?
I'm not sure that's a question.
It was a question, might not be relevant to this discussion.
Say that again?
I said it was a question.
Okay.
It might not be relevant to this discussion.
Pam, you had a question?
Well, just mainly because the Weatherstone open spaces we know was covered by a conservation easement. So, and I talked to Erica just briefly about this, just, starting to wrap my head around how it will work. Will this require a subdivision? Because you already have a conservation easement on it. How would that additional easement work with a conservation easement?
You don't need a subdivision to have multiple easements on a parcel. With a conservation easement, you just gotta make sure that whatever easement you're putting on the parcel does not interfere or violate the conservation easement.
Right, so what is it, my understanding was that you're actually selling the plants. So that's not an easement, that's a fee sale?
Most of the transactions will involve fee simple sale. And and conservation easement, if there's one on a property, will continue on with it, that goes with the title.
Okay. So you'll just be carving out whatever that area is.
Basically, the easement is going to be 25 feet from the edge if it's single pipe, it's centered 25 feet each way, so if they need to access the pipe and work on it, they can get their equipment to the pipe and work on it.
Right.
And there's going to be an easement around the sewage lagoon, so they can go around the lagoon and maintain the lagoon, but they don't have rights to go 200 feet that.
So that's an access easement? That'll be an overlay on whatever the conservation easement is?
Yeah, it's basically an
Okay.
easement around the sewage lagoons and around the sewage disposal fields.
Okay.
for Weatherstone. And everything else we're keeping out of the easement, because so that way it's still land that's maintained by the township in their open space inventory.
Okay, thank you.
Kip, you have a question?
I do. I have probably a whole bunch of questions, but let's start off with the first one. When we, the township approved Weatherstone as a development, the reason they got the number of houses they got as close together as they got without individual sewage and individual water was because they were required to maintain, I believe it was 60%, what was that, tier such and such in the planning, in the zoning? They were required, I believe it was 60, not 80, but I'm not quite sure. They were required to maintain that as open space. At the time, I think a lot of people were offended that the open space, supposedly open space that belonged, still remained in the ownership of Weatherstone. Isn't that correct?
The two parcels that are open space and currently we're discussing are owned by the township.
When did the township buy Weatherstone?
I believe there was a dedication.
It wasn't bought.
It wasn't bought.
It was part of the plan.
It's part of the original
Subdivision, it was
law,
owned. It was
and
owned until
60% of it was supposed to remain as open space. And a lot of people were offended that that open space then became the site of basically a massive sewage plant with multiple lagoons, pumping stations, spray irrigation, and with, do not enter signs. So it wasn't maintained as open space for the township or for the residents, for recreation or for what you would consider normal open space. It's not like you can go swimming in the lagoon. So now, as I understand it, so would somebody correct me if I'm wrong on what I've said so far?
What you said was fine for what the ordinance said at the time, but we've changed our ordinance so less open space can be used by infrastructure operations.
Right, so actually, we couldn't even build what's built there now if we were building today. Is that correct, Sarah? So now, we're saying that we are basically going to give all of the open space that was deeded as open space, we're going to sell it for sewage?
No.
No.
No. We're proposing to place an easement around the sewage facilities on those two parcels.
So Weatherstone will still own the sewage land and the township will operate it, but now the township won't be operating it. We will now be what, just gifting it? Or are they paying for it? Are they buying it? I don't understand.
We're selling the sewer facilities to the
How can you
successful bidder.
sell something that belongs as open space to a housing development and to the township?
Well, I don't know what the history of the open space
I just told you.
zoning was, but there's sewer facilities on there now.
Yes, but it's still considered open space.
Well, then it'll just be under some other entity and still considered open space.
So people can just go up there and sail boats and they can walk through the spray irrigation and ride their horses through there and.
I mean, to whatever extent they want to do that right now.
You can get around the Wawa and see the other.
There's nothing changing.
There's everything changing.
No, there's not. The only thing changing is ownership, that's all.
But the ownership currently of the land is the Weatherstone property.
No. Currently, the land is owned by the
When?
township.
When was it ever sold?
I don't know whether it was ever sold.
What?
It could have been transferred at the time of the subdivision plan.
Transferred to who?
West Vincent Township.
And there's no, Pam, there's no conservation easement on that and all the rest, so I don't understand how this can be
The land
sold for
was
sewage.
dedicated to the township as part of the subdivision process. A conservation easement was placed on that land. There are trails through a lot of that open space.
But
It
does
is,
the conservation plan permit the sales of the land for sewage?
the land isn't being sold for sewage.
Yes, he said it
No,
is.
the facility is just being sold. It's only the facility.
The existing facilities, we're not selling any
The
land in this.
existing facility is a spray irrigation field. Yes, it
It's
is.
just the.
Two ponds, pumping stations, and all those little individual pipes that come up and spray. So basically, you're talking acres and acres. And basically, what's left of the actual open space is almost nothing.
Kip, today, just let's say there's 72 acres of spray irrigation fields and pumping stations and lagoons. If we sold it the way we're anticipating tonight, tomorrow there'd be 72 acres of pumping station, lagoons, and spray irrigation fields.
But it would belong to someone else.
Yes, but it would have
The voters
easements
would
on
have
them,
no
what it
say
could be
in the
used for.
operation. The
No, but-
conservation easement would be basically null and void.
No, it travels with the land. An conservation easement is in perpetuity. The same restrictions will remain in place. It travels with the land.
And
And
the
there's
township is,
virtually nothing left of the land.
No, the land is exactly as it is today.
Oh, well, that's nothing compared to what it was when Weatherstone was given permission to build.
Back to you.
They built a sewage plant.
Just say thank you.
Any other comments?
We just have to make sure that doesn't happen again. Right?
Oh, okay.
You got 72 acres of
Kip,
land.
Brian just offered to stick around as long as you want after the meeting, and he'll explain it to you.
And John, no.
Yes. Anyway, any other comments? Thank you, Brian. All I can tell you is, $21,000 for 3 appraisals just seems high to me.
Survey.
Forgive me for saying that. So I don't know who we put a bug in our area to see if we can get this whittled down a little bit before we sign it.
Right, you would go through, you receive pricing from how many firms?
we talked to 3 different surveying firms. One declined to give us a number because they were not going to be able to get it done in the next 2 months. The second one was approximately 15% higher, and so the firm that we are contracting with for all 3 surveys gave us the best price.
Why isn't Cedarville doing it?
Thank you.
Cedarville does not have a PLS on staff. And these have to be sealed by a PLS because of the recorded easements.
PLS stands for?
Joe, can I
Professional
put you on the
answer.
hot spot? Do these seem reasonable?
I don't know the extent of the work involved to really comment on the reasonableness of the price. I'd have to defer to Brian on that.
The surveys you're getting are full boundary surveys of all 3 of the open space pieces.
Let me ask you a dumb question. Are these the prices from the contract, or are these price plus?
There is some numbers in some amount of work in each of them for Cedarville to manage and also prepare documentation for the township.
Okay. Do you have any idea what percentages that is, roughly? Yes.
5%.
Are you glad you came tonight?
Yes.
You just said a statement that sounded like a full boundary survey of the parcels.
Yes.
You mean of the sewage facility?
No, the 72 acres, the 76 acres, and the full open space at St. Stephen's Green.
Okay, but we already know what that is, because that's on the deeds for those parcels. So, but what you need is the survey of the internal boundaries of the sewage system.
The surveyor, in order to be able to certify an easement across a property, needs to certify the boundary as well.
So it's full boundary and full.
Yes, full boundary and all of the restrictions and easement documentation for each of the easements across those parcels.
They have to do that all the time? You can't go by another person's surveying report or the deed itself?
This is based upon the deed, and then they will, because
Verify.
there's some issues on the quiet title that have to be handled along the rights of way as well. That's why that one is
That
what it
one,
is. The lagoon parcel, there is a pipe that is through the open space. There's a sanitary conveyance pipe through the open space that has to be located, and an easement has to be granted across that. And then you have your easement.
No, but you're saying the whole boundary first.
The boundary, because they have to tie the easement to the boundary. They don't have,
Right.
you have to tie the easement to the boundary of the property.
Do we have as-built at Weatherstone?
We have as-built of part of Weatherstone, but the as-built was not an as-built of the property boundary. What I've seen of the as-built so far that I've been able to find is just as-built to show some of the, we found one so far that I know of.
Well, the deed of dedication, would that have a meets and bounds? Do we have the deed of dedication?
We should.
If you did a meets and bounds of that, and you're talking as-built, could you back into an easement description?
I can ask that question.
Forgive me, Brian, I really don't mean to beat you up. I think you did a wonderful job. But we're looking at two proposals here that total 50 grand. Is there gonna be, it just seems to be,
Adding up.
yes. And I don't know how to get over it to them, so I'm gonna leave it up to my two colleagues to steer me in the right direction. What would you like to do with these two proposals?
Well, we ought to hear about the second
My
one.
two,
Yeah,
guys,
we haven't done the second one.
Brian, you wanna go over the second one before we decide what to do with the first one?
My feeling is this, before we even get into that, there seems to be a sense of the meeting, sense of the board anyway, that these figures are higher than we want to go. We're not bound to accept this. So can we just say, Brian, can you go back and try to do better for us?
Yes, I can go back and see if I can talk to other surveyors, see if I can get better prices for you.
Okay, Joe, is you okay with that?
Yeah, that's whatever you want to do, it's your preference. But I would check out the deed of dedication and the as-built to see if you can limit the amount of the survey. So that's easy, that's easily enough for her to check.
Is there a motion on the floor?
No.
Okay. I would move that the board not accept Cedarville's proposal as contained in what's submitted to us, with the request, with respect, that Brian go back and try to do better for us.
Okay, is that for both?
Is that
the first one?
Huh?
Is that the motion for the first proposal?
That's for
Or
the first
both?
Well, don't, the second one's a different discussion, why don't you do one of the?
All right, the first one.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second?
I need a second.
Second, oh, I'm sorry.
And we're gonna make Erica the point person, so Brian will get back to Erica on, and then you'll,
I know you will.
and you'll pass it along to us.
I will.
Yes.
And were you okay, I know we've seen Stephen's Green, that's the only one I think is a little more time sensitive with the quiet title action.
That is.
Yeah, so I just want
And
to bring
there's,
that
and
up.
keep in mind too, there's also easements on State Stevens Green that were never described on the plan, it just says easement with the width. Every easement on Weatherstone, it just says easement with the width, there's no meets and bounds on the plan. So all of our easements have to be verified and described. That includes this Weatherstone as well, describing those actual
Right.
pipe easements through people's yards. The plan just says 20-foot wide easement, and there's no way to put that in space on the plans that we have access to. So I will go back and I will evaluate this and come back before you next month.
Thank you very
Can
much.
you vote, please?
We should vote.
Can you vote?
Should we, well, I'm just wondering, because this is time sensitive, all of this, right? To some degree or not?
It could eventually.
Quiet title action is being held up for this.
Okay.
But I've already told the attorneys from Dilworth and the bidders that there's too many issues. And this is going to go slower than they think.
We're only asking for a week or two, 10 days anyway.
I'm asking 2 weeks.
Next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
Sarah, you had a question? Can we?
If the St. Stephen's Green is a separate issue, is there a way to sever that from this bid and keep it moving forward? Because it's a much smaller parcel, it has to be a much smaller segment of that cost in front of you.
That's the third.
They're separate already within the proposal.
All right, so it's a third for 12 acres versus 70-some in lagoons, and it's a pipe through and it costs a third?
There's more issues with the quiet title than the other ones because of right of way, and there's some issues along both of the road frontages that we've been asked to handle as part of the title.
I'm gonna ask to move this discussion on, because we're gonna be here in 2 weeks anyway, so I'm gonna end the discussion and call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. I hope you don't mind that, but we're gonna have this whole discussion in 2 weeks.
You know I do. Can we hear what the second project is?
Say that again?
He had a second project he was gonna tell us.
We're gonna hear that next.
Okay, good, thank you.
As part of the wastewater treatment plant potential sale, you need to provide to the potential bidders a complete asset inventory of all sewer and water pipe and facilities in the township. That includes all pipe by size and material, if we can determine that, location and size of all manholes, and also a full inventory of all equipment, pumps, everything within each plant is required to be listed as part of the sale. Our proposal for the debt is to do a GIS mapping similar to we did for all the stormwater for the MS4 program, where we went out, we geo-referenced it, we mapped it, and then field verified it. That would then provide the township with the GIS database for all your sewer and water facilities that you currently own. Second part of the proposal, which is the asset inventory, is the review and inventory and current date, service date of all material, all equipment in all 5 plants. They all have to be inventoried and they all have to be service date and down to what size pump, what horsepower pump, what year it went into service, and there's going to be, so this information is not readily available to the township. We've made some, the mapping task was separated from the asset inventory task because I wanted to talk about that tonight with the board. The mapping task is the task we discussed at our last Friday staff meeting. The asset inventory is an estimate by Cedarville on what it would take to inventory everything in the plants and reconcile that against all the bills for all the replacements as the plants have over. We could figure out which pump was replaced when. The way to do that is to go through the bills which will be provided.
You need to determine the cost basis for this?
No. There's no cost basis. It's just to figure out when year the plant, what year that pump.
No, you need this information for the bidders to determine the cost basis.
So it is cost basis?
Yes. Yes, but we're not, Cedarville is not.
You're not
setting
doing
the
that,
cost.
right? You're identifying.
Yes. So we've come up with a cost for doing both complete inventory for each plant system, basically each residence system based upon the length of pipe in each system has to be identified and inventoried as part of the sale. So if there's 6,000 feet of pipe in Weatherstone and 2,000 feet of pipe in Matthews Meadows, we have to identify that and use as-built records as well to identify size and length and possible depths. We have to identify each manhole by size, by what it is, and that's, everything has to be identified and cataloged into a spreadsheets for each one basically that's going to be provided to the potential bidders as an inventory.
And what's the timeline? How long does that take? What do you think it will take?
We're looking at 6 weeks.
Okay. The other issues we're having, are they going to be longer than 6 weeks? 2 months, 3 months?
Quite a total action, the reason why I wanted you to not take action on both these in your previous motion is because some of what he's proposing here, you should be doing regardless of the sale.
Right. The assets.
The mapping of the lines should be done regardless of what you sell or not. So that part is sort of a no-brainer. It's the assessing the life cycle, not the life cycle, but the data service and subsequent capital improvements to various assets are probably something that you find useful anyway. Because if you didn't sell the sewer system, you should be setting up a maintenance schedule. You should be setting up a life cycle for your capital assets, and you know when to replace them. Without this information, you won't be able to set up.
No, we'll be doing it like we do now. Pump fails, replace it.
Right. But you should be able to budget. The life cycle of that pump is 2 more years and budget it for it. So the reason why I want you to separate them out is because this proposal has, regardless of whether you sell the system or not. Now, the price is up to you, but the work really should be done.
Well, I agree with both proposals, the work needs to be done.
Yeah.
So gentlemen, what do you want to do with the second proposal?
Well, you're questioning pricing, and that's where it gets difficult. Because it's not a bid job.
The second proposal is all work done internally by Cedarville.
Right. But again, it's, I mean, from our standpoint, it's not a bidded proposal. We're not comparing this to another engineering firm, see what they would charge, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's hard for us to know if it's a good deal, bad deal, or fair deal.
The mapping cost is similar to what it costs for the MS4.
So is that a good deal? You know, again, we have no way of knowing. Without a bidding type process, you really don't. It's more of a trust thing.
So gentlemen, what would you?
But it has to be done.
I agree.
So, I mean,
Well,
I trust them.
It definitely has to be done. I mean, and I guess at this point, there is kind of something that, Joe, you're saying, this is something we need to do anyway, and probably should be done sooner rather than later.
Well, the GIS, I think, would be top priority, and then secondary would be the asset list.
The asset inventory could take a long time to do.
Well, the asset inventory will be done at the same time as the asset inventory is the longer of the two pieces. So
So
we're
six,
still
8 weeks.
we're looking 6 weeks.
Okay, so it would be insane to separate the two.
If you separate the two, we wouldn't start the asset inventory because and the asset inventory is just for what's inside the plants.
Oh, okay.
Like the
Not-
GIS is what's out in the field, we gotta go out and find
So
all the
doing them
manholes.
together doesn't save anything? Or it does?
It does because you'll have people out, because the
Okay.
GIS, like,
Makes sense.
they'll be picking up coordinates GIS wise while they're out there.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that somebody make the motion that we accept this in its entirety. Brian, and see if you can throw us a bone and fix it, or take it off the first one. But let's get them going on this one, because it's a 6-week project.
Yeah, I move that we accept the second proposal.
Second.
Sarah?
And the price of the second
Oh,
proposal is
good.
approximately $30,000.
29,655.
We're gonna mark that number 2. Yeah, for 29,655. Maria, did you have a question?
I do.
Kip?
I'm just curious about one of the aspects of Weatherstone, when you're doing all this mapping. When Weatherstone submitted all their pages or their papers or whatever, there should have been pages that were nothing but the plumbing and the so forth and the so on in their draft, in their drafting papers. Did the township not receive those?
They're not meets and bounds, right?
We have the design plans, we don't have all, even if we have as-built plans, we still don't have a map of it in GIS. What our proposal is to do is to use any as-built plan and georeference it into GIS. So it gives the township a map, it gives the road crew a map of knowing where the pipes are that they're responsible to maintain currently, but they don't know where they're at.
Yes, well, wasn't that all included in the initial drawings and all the piping pages? There are piping pages, for instance, for all the pumping stations and where the pipes go and where they, so forth and so on. I mean, don't we have all of those pages?
It's not in the GIS system.
Why would it not be actual?
No.
I mean, architectural drawings require everything to the inch. So
Yes.
why wouldn't they be
These are
actual?
we're proposing to take the system and take the maps as currently drawn on paper.
I understand that,
And put it in
but
the GIS system.
there
Okay.
were all these questions about the cost of it, and I'm asking you, don't you have those existing drawings at the
Yeah,
present time?
the proposal is to use the drawings as the basis to create the GIS database. So it's in the GIS system. And as part of the GIS, it's also going to be coding it so each piece of pipe is coded, each manhole is coded for mapping. So each manhole will be numbered in the system of the township.
So we're paying now to transfer it from black and white sheets to a GIS computerized system.
And also do a complete asset inventory of the piping. Right now, there's no inventory to know how many feet of 8-inch pipe or how many feet of 6-inch pipe.
And they should be on the architectural
With
drawings.
this,
That's exactly
When
what
we do
is on
the-
an architectural drawing, the size of the pipe, the length of the pipe, everything like that. So that's why I'm asking the question.
The
So we're
information.
just paying to transfer those pages to the GIS, is that correct?
you gotta let them finish to answer the question, Kevin.
The information on the page is not in a form that can be presented to the potential bidders. it needs to be presented in a form for them, and also by doing the asset inventory in the GIS database, you'll know exactly what size pipe is where in the township. Currently, you have to go to a piece of paper and look at it, try to figure out where it is.
Well, okay, so well, Joe would be honest with this, on other systems, are they all come with GIS mapping? I mean, if somebody was buying a sewer plant, I'd probably pay a little premium to have the GIS, but otherwise, I'd still buy it with the paper plans.
Most municipalities today are already in GIS.
Okay.
So it's already done.
When we get ready to do the MS4 thing, can this be used for that?
The MS4 mapping is already done.
It's already done.
Why wasn't this part of that?
Because this is sanitary sewer, you have storm sewer for that part.
I knew that, but I was checking to see if you knew that.
And we're also mapping the water system as well, so it's Stevens Green.
Okay, let's move this discussion on. I have a motion in front of, Brian.
Don't worry, it's something. Basically, when you're putting it in the GIS system, you're generating a large database so that you know where 6-inch cast iron pipe is everywhere in the township. Where right now you have to do a massive paper search to find out that same information, correct?
Yes.
So for managing what you've got, and if you've got to search for stuff, it's a lot easier once you've done this initial.
Yeah, but the question comes up, if we're selling the system, if we end up selling it, then we're doing the work for somebody else, which is fine and great, because it'd make it easier for them, and they'd probably pay something for you, whether or not, no one would pay
Well,
anything for
the
it.
question-
They're expecting it.
The question we're getting from everyone, and here's the frustration, what do you sell?
Right.
Yeah.
We have no idea what we're selling.
Well, on paper we do.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't know what we're selling. We need a list of assets.
Yes.
What's
I'm
coming
talking
to
about the
sale,
GIS, not the
and-
assets.
And the pipes are.
That's on the paper plans, you'd have to go physically through the paper plans, yeah, and see.
Yes, physically through plans
Right.
and write everything
Right.
down and come up with a
So it'd
spreadsheet.
probably be cheaper to do this than do that.
Because we have to tell,
You're gonna have to.
it has to happen either way for the sewer treatment
Yes.
plant, so.
I believe we're ready to make a decision on this rather than keep discussing it. I think we have, Sarah.
So is there a way that you can recover these costs in your sale price?
Possibly, but
Thank you.
that's not what we're
I
doing.
just want you to be
Okay.
thinking about
So I have a
it.
motion in front of us for the approval, we called it number two, in the amount of $29,655. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I know it's tough, and I apologize for putting you under the gun. I'll buy you a beer later, okay? You still smile.
Why you pay him the big bucks, right?
Okay, new subdivision from Vincent Kling at 1259 Birch Run Road. Who wants to explain this? Eric.
All right. Township just received this 2 days ago. Oh, yep, because it's Monday. Perfect. And this is a plan that was submitted a few years ago, back in 2005, and it was withdrawn. Vincent Kling owns, it's 1259 Birch Run Road. It's in the R3 residential zoning district. They're looking at, their proposal description's pretty brief, but they're looking at residential lots, and let's see here, we have a plan attached, 6 lots. Thank you.
Can I help with this?
Sure, yes, you had some background, Sarah.
The plan in 2005 was withdrawn, and ultimately Mr. Kling sold TDRs to the township, and he retained 6 development rights with the intent that it would be 10-acre or larger lots in a future subdivision. Within the last year, he came in and talked to the supervisors about the scale of the plan, because it's smaller. He wanted to be able to show all of the abutting properties, and to meet the scale of our plans, it needed to be 100 instead of 200, or the other way around. And y'all guys said, fine, because it's really this one. So there's 7 parcels, 6 new ones being subdivided out that are the conservation pieces. I would really appreciate if the description of the plan were provided to the planning commission as well as just the drawing, which we got so far, or is the description the letter?
Yeah, and that's why I'm a little limited.
I mean, did you just get the plan? I got a copy of one of the letters that was sent to a budding neighbor. And I sent that to you guys, but you don't have anything more than that.
Yeah.
Just for correction, it might have been stated, but I know I heard there's 6 lots, there's actually 7.
Well, there's 6 new ones.
Okay, 7 lots.
Okay.
And all we're
Yeah.
gonna do is forward this to the
Oh,
planning
yes,
commission
yeah.
and any other,
Yep, it's
any
just,
other
you know,
pertinent
it's-
committees.
Yep,
Yep.
that's correct.
So we can do that in a matter, of course, we don't need a vote on that, do we, Joe?
No.
So Eric will make that happen. I think we've come to the conclusion of, except we have public comment on non-agenda items. Harry?
Let's stand up so that you can hear me, because it's a couple sentences long. Chester County is updating its comprehensive plan. It's going to be called Landscapes 3. And today they released a public survey, and they say, the survey seeks to gather feedback on several issues, including growth, open space and environment, sense of place, modern infrastructure, transportation, the economy, healthy lifestyles, and housing options. We encourage you to take the survey. Hope you will help us spread the word about it. That's what I'm doing right now, is spreading the word. And I will read to you the website, but I will also ask.
I was gonna put it on the agenda next time. Little, you jump
I'm ahead for once.
It's only going to be available for about a month.
Okay, so the website is www.chesco.org/landscapes3, the numeral, survey. And Tammy will put this on the website, even though I got to it before she did.
Sarah, is that the survey you're gonna be doing at the community day?
No, that's the Phoenix
Phoenix
Regional
Overture.
Planning Survey that Tammy and I are both going to be doing.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Robin, I live on St. Andrews. I had just heard about the plan to put a Wawa and a CVS across from Ludwig. I always thought this township didn't want to be Upper Euclid or Eagle. And this sounds awful like Upper Euclid and Eagle to me.
Well, first off, you know more than I do. I don't think anything is, what's happening, it hasn't been proposed to us. But that section where I believe you're talking about is the corner of 401 and Route 100. That is zoned commercial for retail, apartments, and office, correct? I have heard rumors also of what I'll call a Wawa-like facility up where the old gas station used to be up there across from the Sunoco.
Actually, it's Bertrand.
Or maybe further up towards Bertrand. But all those is pure speculation, and
There's nothing on paper, there's nothing that says.
we
it's
have
gonna be a
not
CVS.
gotten any plans at all. Tara?
Well, there was a drawing that Neil Fisher brought to a meeting and presented to you, and it did show a gas station on the corner.
You're right.
And he specifically mentioned Wawa, so we
No,
did.
he said Wawa-like.
Yeah, you never said all.
How about
Perhaps,
CVS?
but he mentioned also something like a CVS, and that those would be the anchors of the new commercial area instead of a grocery store as well.
Well, then I guess I just moved down to Upper Euclid then.
No, it's coming to us, you don't have to.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Regardless, that's all we know at this point is, and it is going to be developed to some extent. We don't have.
Do you have anything to say about it?
We have some to say about it, yes.
They
And
said
our
go
planning
ahead.
commission will have something to say, and then it'll come back to the supervisors.
And keep coming to the meetings.
Well, I travel, but if I can, I will.
And by the way, Mike's the one you want to yell at.
Okay. No problem with that.
I don't have a problem either.
John, you've already told them to go ahead with their planning.
They're preliminary, right?
Yes.
I'm not worried about the traffic, the noise, everything. It's just-
We had asked for more committees to review it, but the supervisors told them to go ahead with their plans. So I feel like you were helping them. So I'm wondering what you've heard when you said you think they're going to be moving out pretty quickly on that.
Say that again?
Earlier tonight, you said.
Oh, I think they want to move quickly, is maybe I said it wrong. They want to move, they want to develop that, the people of Weatherstone want it developed. Of course, developed as what is the question?
Yeah, and so do people who aren't at Weatherstone. We'd like to have a little vibrant village center there.
But this is not the planning commission, so I hope that answered your question as best I could.
Okay, well, it doesn't sound like
So-
you know a lot, but.
No, and that's not the only thing I don't know a lot on, but
Right,
yes.
understood.
Start coming to meetings twice a month. And planning commission meets when, Sarah?
Thursday this
Thursday.
week.
7:30.
Any other comments?
Oh, it was cool, huh?
Non-agenda items, going once, twice, entertain a motion to end the meeting? Second. All those in favor? Thank you all for coming.